Hey guys! So I actually have this video suggestion from one of my close. She said, Amanda, you're majoring in creative writing and publishing and editing, double majoring actually. Why do you not have a video on your channel yet that is about all your favorite books? And while I don't think that I could actually do that, right? Like actually compile a list of like my favorite books of all time. I do have a list of my favorite books from when I was a kid, books I used to read when I was a kid. I think the only book that I'm leaving out of here is I read the entire series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, and I had to leave that out because my box set is currently on loan to a girl that I tutor because she is reading them as well. So that's the only thing I had to leave out, but otherwise I have a whole bunch of books here with me today. So we're gonna get started and look at some really awesome reads. So first up, hey, it's Ramona Quimby. I read the whole series, but this is probably my favorite, was Ramona Quimby, Age 8 by Beverly Cleary. And basically it's about Ramona. You get a nice view of Ramona. Disney actually had a movie that was after this book, taken after this book. And she's Ramona right there, and she has an older sister, Beatrice, who she calls Beezus, and it's about all the trouble they get into and just the trouble that Ramona gets into as a young kid. And this is set in like the 90s-ish, so it's kind of like old school, you know, think of it like pretty old school. I'm pretty sure it's set in the 90s. They just have like that nice like 90s of like, oh yeah, I can like bike to my friend's house, or like, you know, and they used to play like all kinds of like old games. There weren't any phones or computers, so it's kind of like when I grew up, like it was nice to have like this contrast of like, hey, this is what like a normal kid would live, even as like I had like a webkins as a kid, you know, and I was online all the time. Roald Dahl was one of my favorites, and a lot of people liked his other works, you know, like The Big Friendly Giant, the BFG. They liked Matilda. I like Matilda the musical, which I didn't discover until like a while later. The book was okay. I like the musical a lot better. But this was actually my favorite. It's The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and 6 More. So it's an anthology of 7 stories. And they're not connected in any way, they're just written by him, so it's just a couple. So there's The Boy Who Talked with Animals, about a boy who saves a whale. The Hitchhiker, about like a guy who can like pickpocket people and they don't even notice that like what's been like taken from them has been taken. The Mildenhall Treasure, which I hated, or the Mildenhall, sorry. Mildenhall Treasure, which was not one of my favorites. It was pretty boring, it was about some treasure. The Swan, which I remember being like the most impressive piece of literature to me as a kid. And I read like some dark shit as a kid. Like this is a book that I read as a kid because it was Roald Dahl, but like it was about 2 bullies and they were hunting swans and like geese or something, some kind of ducks or something, so they could have like dinner. And the boy had gotten a hunting rifle for his birthday. It was the bully, and found like a nerd who was like watching like the geese, you know, like watching the different birds and saying, wow, they're so beautiful. And he shoots a swan. And he takes the wings from the swan and puts them on the boy, so that the boy has like the swan's wings to tie, like he ties it to the boy, and they put the boy on like some train tracks to try to kill him, but eventually they push him like off a cliff or off a tree or something, and he has the wings, so he's like trying to fly. And like I'll leave the ending a mystery, but I just remember it was like a lot of like violence and like bullies, and that's how I like, you know, I grew up with that. And then you have The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. And then Lucky Break is in the end, which is How I Became a Writer by Roald Dahl. How he became a writer, which I was less interested in. And then Henry Sugar, he like learned from like yogis or something how to like be able to see through objects, so that he could gamble, so he could cheat like while at like casinos and stuff, because he'd be able to see through the cards to the other side. I thought that was interesting, so that's where I learned mostly about gambling and stuff, was from The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. This was one of my favorites. Oh my goodness, so good. I mean, just, oh my god. It was Lois Lowry too, you know, like The Giver, Number the Stars, right? But The Willoughbys was like a classic kids book, and you had this like, oh my god, oh my god. Just let me read the back to you. Shouldn't we be orphans? Barnaby B asked. The Willoughby children are seated on the front steps playing a complicated game to which only Tim knew the rules. "Why?" asked Barnaby A, moving down a step because the rules said if he must if he asked a question, and of course why was a question. "Because," Barnaby B explained, "we are like children in an old-fashioned book, and mostly they are orphans," Jane said. She moved down 2 steps because she had interrupted, which was against the rules, and now she was the lowest of the 4. "Worthy and deserving orphans," Barnaby B added. "Winsome, too," added Jane. "A sea voyage sometimes produces orphans," Barnaby A pointed out. "They're often pirates or icebergs." "And sea serpents," his twin added, "even though I don't entirely believe in sea serpents." "I believe in giant squids," Jane said with a shudder. "Good point," Tim acknowledged, "and piranhas. Are our parents planning a vacation by any chance? On a trip?" The plot of it is that the children are trying to get rid of their parents because they hate their parents, so they're trying to become orphans. And the parents hate their children that they're trying to get rid of them, like Hansel and Gretel style. So it's really nice, and it has some twist plot lines and things involving like a famous like confectioner. Really great book. This I think was like my first romance novel as a kid was Love, Stargirl, and I read this before I read Stargirl, so you could bet I was so lost. And then I read Stargirl. I didn't like Stargirl at all. I really liked this from Stargirl's point of view rather from the other guy's point of view, the guy she used to date, and I liked the guy that she would always talk to. What was his name? The one who was the leader of like they were like the bees or something. He was like a flower, and they were all the honeybees, and I just really liked Stargirl. Stargirl was one of like my like her name is Perry, right? Perry. And Stargirl just like had like this unique way of thinking that really meshed with me and like my unique way of thinking, how I would think creatively and in abstract ways. And she had that, you know, and I was like, I connect with you in that weirdness level. And then when I like Perry was like this troublemaker, and I was like swept in by it, and I think that was like my first like ship before shipping was even a thing, was definitely Stargirl and Perry. We'll skip this one. Now, I don't have the original book to this anymore because I gave it to my friend who moved to Belgium, but the original one was called Into the Land of the Unicorns. This one's called Song of the Wanderer, and it's part of the Unicorn Chronicles by Bruce Coville. And oh my god, it's just about unicorns. That's it. It's about unicorns and a girl who has like a magic locket and she gets transported into the land of the unicorns. I loved it. It was one of my favorite ones that I could have ever like I started, like, I saw it on a rack, and my mom was like, "Why don't you try that one?" I was like, "I don't really like fantasy books," you know, even then I wasn't, like, a big fan of fantasy. She was like, "Oh, come on, just try it, it's a popular book," you know, we saw it in the Barnes & Noble rack. She's like, "Look, it's popular for girls your age," and I was like, "Fine," and it was so much more than just, like, a dumb book, you know, about, like, some unicorns. It was so much more than that. Of course, I talked about this one before, but Harriet the Spy is always a classic. I guarantee watching the movie, I think the movie was a pretty good representation. I still think you should read the book too, but just Harriet the Spy, just wow, she was, you know, she spied on people, she wrote stuff down in her notebook. If that's not me to a T, then I don't know what is. You know, I am like 100% that person who's gonna write down everything in a notebook and get it all done and make it beautiful and everything, you know. I will collect dirt on people and I will exploit them for my own gain. I 100% am like that. I'm kidding. Okay, I'm not like that, but I am like Harriet, where like you write down things that you could use to exploit people, but you don't. You know, like she writes down all this like stuff about like her best friend Scott. What's his name? Sport. So I know I should know this is my favorite book, but I haven't read them in ages. I should read all these again. It's just, these are like way back in childhood. Like I was like so small when I read these because I was an avid reader from like age 7. Like I was like in it. Like first grade I was reading these like long like chapter books. She would like write down like stuff like about how he would take care of how he likes, he wears like an apron to cook, and she didn't mean for people to find out. It was just for her, just observing and learning about people and their personalities and what they were like. And then when people found out, that's when it became a bad thing. So I think I'm very much like that. Like I have like that thing, but I would never use any of the information that I gained for malicious intent. Tale of Despereaux. The movie came out, the movie is not as good. Just really well crafted. Oh my god, like so many different storylines and they all twist together. It follows a mouse and a rat and a girl named Miggery Sest. I remember it being such a great book, you know. It was so impressive how he managed to do that. I think that was like one of the first times I really found myself like admiring an author, and I was like, how can anybody write all these different things together into one thing? And that was like, you know, how they came together in the end. It was a little bit different than like the Willoughbys. They kind of came together, but it was also kind of like, it felt kind of fake. Tale of Despereaux felt so real. Mysterious Benedict Society. Whoa. 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 Trenton Lee Stewart, and following 4 kids who are like handpicked by like this like secret agent guy, and he's like, go spy on people and save the world, and like it sounds fake, but it started like such in a way that was so intriguing, and you didn't know what they were doing because they were applying like to take a test to show that they were gifted children, and like just like problem solving and like critical thinking that like I had been like never like really like into thinking critically, and I started reading this and I was like, wow, you know, critical thinking is so cool. Look at all the things that they could figure out, you know, like they were like the mystery solving crew that I had never known. Like I had read like the Bobbsey twins because of my parents, but like this is a whole like new element of like almost like trying to like solve a means to an end instead of like trying to solve a mystery, you know. It's not like they were detectives, they were like secret agents. There's the Garden of Eve, which I read as a kid, but is super extremely dark. It is like death, it is magic, it is like weird like twins, people trying to kill each other, like really scary. It focuses around a lot of very dark themes. Did I love it? Oh, you betcha. Oh, you betcha. Look, you can see her like burying like bleeding things in the snow. Like it was so dark and scary. I definitely love it. It had to do with like a magic plant. So like here's something from a bit of it. Why did you do that? He demanded. I'd almost brought her back. She didn't want you to, Evie said, but Alex stood up defiantly. She did so! I saw her in my mind as she was saying yes. If I'd been able to finish, maybe we could have brought your mom back next, but you ruined it. Evie's mouth dropped open in surprise. I'm telling you, it wasn't right. Alex didn't wait for a response. If you're not going to believe, then you ought to go home. That's what Eve was trying to tell us, Evie said, clenching her fists. If you weren't so stubborn, you might have understood. We've got to get back before the tree fades away and we're both stuck here like she was. I'm not stubborn, Alex said. I'm staying. Evie's eyes popped. Of course, Alex can't stay. Okay. We got 2 of my favorites left. You Are Not Here by Samantha Schutz, which is kind of edging its way out into adulthood. This is definitely one of my favorite books if I had to pick one. She also wrote I Don't Want to Be Crazy, if you guys have ever heard of that one. It's written in poem style. I really like it. It was the first book that I had ever read that was written that way, and then I read I Don't Want to Be Crazy and I was like, oh my god, this author is like the best, and I found out that a lot of people write that way, but I didn't know that back then. And I think this is probably why I got so interested in poetry, because it was just so strong. I'm going to read a little bit of this. If I do not sleep, it will not come. If I do not sleep, it will not come. If I do not sleep, it will not come. I need this night to last forever. I need it to go on because once I fall asleep, it will be tomorrow. It will be the day of Brian's funeral, and I can't do that. I can't see that. I can't feel that. My eyes are burning. They want to seal shut. They want to break from crying. My body is sore from tensing and it wants release. It wants the softness of sleep, but I cannot give it that. I cannot let that happen. I cannot go from today to tomorrow. If I do not sleep, it will not come. If I do not sleep, it will not come. If I do not sleep, it will not come. I repeat these 9 words like a mantra. I try to hold on to them like worry beads, like a rosary, but instead of keeping me focused, they are lulling me to sleep. If I do not sleep, it will not come. If I do not sleep, it will not come. If I do not sleep, it will not come. If I do not sleep, it will not come. I walk down my block and then take a right turn. 2 more blocks and I'll be with Brian. For the first time in a long time, I know he'll be there waiting for me. I sit down on the grass next to him. He has flowers, but I know they're not for me. I wonder who gave them to him, but I don't ask. I tell Brian about my day. I say, I saw your dad at the supermarket. I didn't talk to him. It's not like he knows who I am, and even if he did, I wouldn't know what to say. I watched him take things off the shelves, look them over, and then put them back. There was almost nothing in his cart. I wonder if he's always been like that, or just lately. I say, I miss you. I ask if he's missed me too, then wait for his answer. If that squirrel runs up that tree, then his answer is yes. If it stays on the grass, his answer is no. The squirrel doesn't move, and my breath catches in my throat. After a moment, it zips up the tree. I smile and lie down next to Brian. I wish he could hold me like he used to, but he doesn't. The warm sun makes me drowsy and I fall asleep on my side next to Brian. When I wake up, grass is imprinted on my arm and leg. I brush myself off, but Brian doesn't move. I say, I'll see you tomorrow. I reach out to touch him and my fingers make contact with words. Brian Dennis, died age 17, beloved son and friend. So yeah, now reading back on it, like inevitable, like, clearly he's dead. If he's not, clearly she's at a gravesite, but it's kind of like hindsight bias plus. I really was pretty young when I started reading that, you know. I know I was definitely way too young to read. I don't want to be crazy. I don't need you guys commenting that. My favorite book of all time, The Velveteen Rabbit. The Velveteen Rabbit. Oh my goodness. Velveteen Rabbit is great. I'd love to do a whole video where I just read the whole Velveteen Rabbit. I had a friend read it to me the other day. I have this really nice copy with these great pictures of all the different, like the horse, the old stuffed horse. Oh my goodness. And then just everything you could ever want. The rabbit thrown out in the trash. There's the rabbit thrown out in the trash. Like, it had such great illustrations. I just love it. Well, thank you guys for watching another video. I'm trying to work out that typewriter one. It'll be coming soon, I promise. Until then, I hope you guys will keep watching my videos and keep supporting me. So thank you guys all, and I will see you very, very soon.